Hello everybody, and welcome to Battle Report number 18, which is a 4,500 point game of Warriors of the Dark Gods against Demon Legions. I was running the Demon Legion list of the French captain at the ETC tournament today, just to see how it went really. I'm quite fascinated with it, if I'm quite honest with you. So, let me just talk you through deployment. We've got the diagonal deployment scenario here, and the secondary objective is to get scoring units into your opponent's deployment zone. If I just talk you through Jake's list first, we've got a unit of Marauder Horse here, a Mauler Chariot, a unit of Crusher Cavalry here, unit of Centaurs here. Are they called Centaurs? I think they're called Centaurs. I'll go along with that for now. Unit of Crusher Knights here, so there's two of those. He's got a Wizard Master here on the Law of Alchemy on a disc. We've got a unit of Warriors here. These guys I think have Halberds, making them Strength 5. And maybe some sort of speed upgrade as well. Unit of Dogs here, and then just not yet deployed on the board, we've got a unit of Marauders with a Marauder character there. On my side, a list not at all created by me. I take no credit for this list at all. I've got Blood Chariot here, a unit of Furies, 5 Crushers here, 29 Slaughterers here, another unit of 5 Crushers, another unit of 5 Crushers, everybody's favourite toy, the Scourge of Wrath here, another unit of 5 Crushers, and a Blood Chariot. So I quite like this list. There's quite a bit of symmetry to it. So this is deployment. Let's get into the Vanguards. Okay, so this is Vanguard. No vanguarding in the Demon's army, but just a little vanguarding here. You've got the dogs coming around the side on what would be the right flank from my point of view, and the horses coming around on the left, what would be the left flank from my point of view. So that's Vanguards. Jake deployed, I think, his whole army first, so Jake would get to go first. I think he did that. I might be making that up. Anyway, Jake got the first turn. Okay, so Jake's turn 1 here then, and in true Chaos fashion, he's basically just moved everything up, really. He's moved his wizard across here, presumably to try and sort of keep him away from the Scourge of Wrath, but keep him close enough to be involved. And other than that, as you can see, everything's just kind of moved forwards, really. So that is the end of Jake's movement. Okay, so this is the end of Jake's turn 1 then. In the magic phase, he cast the spike, but I managed to dispel that. He got Molten Copper off on a unit of Furies, but didn't manage to do any wounds. I managed to dispel the Lash, and I managed to dispel the Fireball. So my Ether Icon and shocking rolls from Jake coming into play there a little bit, really. We also remembered that Jake had forgotten to move his dogs, so the dogs just down here will get moved at some point. Yeah, that was it for Jake's turn 1. On to my movement phase. Okay, so end of my movement phase here. Then not a huge amount going on. You can see I've charged the chaff here. It's presenting itself. It's in the way. I suspect Jake might be trying to stop me from getting one cannon shot off, but to be honest, I'm happy to sacrifice that so that the chaff aren't getting in my way later on. So charge there. Everything else has just sort of moved up really, and then the Furies are blocking off these units, preventing them from charging me because I want to charge Jake. The only sort of variable in this is the Mauler Chariot here, which could do a flank charge on these Furies down here. But my line of thought here was, well, if the Mauler Chariot does that, it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to smash through the Furies and then get in the way of this unit here, preventing it from charging, which kind of serves my purposes anyway, or it's going to overrun so far as to not get in the way of this unit that I'll be able to charge it with the Slaughterers. So either way, I'm fairly happy with that. So yeah, that's the end of my movement turn 1. Okay, so end of my turn one then. Two things have happened. I beat the dogs in combat, which was to be expected. Didn't manage to kill all of them, so I had to chase them to make sure that they didn't come back and be a pain in the neck later on, which puts the cannon sort of slightly out of place here. Not able to charge next turn, but that's life. And this cannon over here did a couple of wounds, 2 wounds, on the Mauler chariot just here. So that's a little bit weakened. So bit of early bloodletting, but nothing, no pun intended there. But nothing too big going on at this stage. That's the end of my turn one. Okay, so into Jake's movement turn 2 then. And Jake has declared only 2 charges. He's charged the Mauler chariot with this unit of Furies here on the flank, and he's charged this unit of Furies here in the middle with his centaurs, dragon centaurs. He's left this one alone entirely. Oh, and a charge here. He managed to make this charge with his warriors against my crushers just down there. But yeah, he's left this unit here, which I'm happy for because that just keeps this unit pinned in place, really. I presume Jake wants to see what's going to happen here before making decisions about that. But anyway, there you go. Also, his ambushers have come on, and he's put them on here. I'm not sure about that. I think if it were me, I'd have considered bringing them on maybe on this flank over here to threaten this cannon or kind of come in behind here. I don't really see this unit being able to catch either of these, if I'm honest, even if they wanted to. So not sure about that. Anyway, that is the end of Jake's movement turn 2. Okay, so end of Jake's turn 2 here then. He's done a wound on my slaughterers with molten copper, but I managed to dispel both fireball and word of iron. The Mauler has smashed through the Furies as predictable, but has chosen not to overrun, which I suppose is wise, but it does give me an option here now because I have a shorter charge to make with this unit here, so I can force Jake into fleeing with this unit, or I can run into it and then overrun and go into this unit here. So I'm fairly happy with that situation, really. What else has happened? The crushers over here dealt with the warriors pretty straightforward, really. First turn of combat, so they're all at +1 strength. So this unit strength 5 and strength 6. They only took 1 wound themselves. So yeah, quite happy with that. That's the end of Jake's turn 2. Okay, so my movement turn 2 then. I've got a couple of charges off. I declared a charge at the Mauler chariot, which only fled a few inches. But then my crushers here failed their charge in spite of that. Oh, couldn't believe it. So they've ended up just sort of limping around in the middle of the battlefield there. But my other 2 charges went through, so my Scourgers got into the Dragon Centaurs here in the middle. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do to them, because they're generally horrible, but I think he will make short work of them, to be honest. And then the Crushers here have got into Jake's Crusher Knights here, so we've got Demon Crushers against Warrior Crushers. Of course, at the start of the movement phase, this unit of Furies was here because Jake hadn't charged it, which is why only so many of my Crushers could get in. And then in the remaining moves phase, I've moved these Crushers over to here to prevent Jake's Crushers from charging mine. So if he wants to get through this unit, he's going to have to go sort of along here or stop there, and then I get the charge on him is the idea. I mean, it could bring his horses in. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Other than that, I got my chariot, just got the edge of it onto the hill here, so I can take a shot at Jake's wizard over here, and this one hasn't moved, so it's at long range, but it's not suffering penalties for movement, so that's that. The slaughterers here in the middle have just sort of advanced really towards this area, but slowly I'm hoping to clear stuff up with them and then get through into Jake's deployment zone is the plan there. So that's the end of my movement turn 2. Okay, so end of my turn 2 then. Oh, isn't that a beautiful sight? Dragon Centaurs running away. Oh, I do like that. So my Scourge of Wrath made fairly short work of the Dragon Centaurs. They did 3 wounds back to him, which, you know, is something, but he did, I think, 7 wounds to them and a charge, and they broke. Unfortunately, he then decided he wanted to stroll after them rather than go into a decent pursuit, so they get away for now. Battle in the middle here between my Crushers and his. My Crushers actually won this combat just about, but the Warrior Crushers, Crusher Knight, held. What else happened? Oh, my cannons missed in both cases. This one was actually on a 6, this one was on a 5, so that was to be expected, I suppose. And that's it for the end of my turn 2. Okay, so here we are in Jake's turn 3 then. And you can see that the Dragon Centaurs have rallied over here. And Jake has actually elected not to charge the Furies with his own Crusher Knights here, meaning that my Furies get in my own way. Well, I can kind of see some logic to that, I suppose. The Chariot over here has rallied. He's brought his Marauders up here into the space left in this area. Of course, this is a scoring unit, so that's the secondary objective in Jake's favour at the moment. And he's brought his horses over here to threaten my cannon, which of course ultimately protects his sorcerer a little more. So that is the end of Jake's movement turn 3. Okay, so this is the end of Jake's turn 3. In the magic phase, he managed to get Word of Iron off on the Mauler here, which allowed him to put the aspect on the Scourge of Wrath, making the Scourge of Wrath flammable. But he didn't manage to cast Molten Copper, and I managed to dispel Silver Spike. So I got away with that a little bit, if I'm honest. Combat here was a draw, but you can see that the Crusher Knights are whittling away my Crusher Cavalry. It's just the War Standard that allowed me to draw this combat here. Fortunately, it's my turn next, and I've got this Chariot positioned to come and rescue here. So we'll just have to see how that goes. The horseman over here took a few ranged shots at the cannon here, but didn't manage to do anything to it. So that was the end of Jake's turn 3. Okay, so my movement turn 3 then. The Scourge of Wrath has charged at the Dragon Centaurs again, going in for a second go there. The Chariot has charged down the hill into the unit of Crusher Knights here. My Slaughterers have now managed to get into combat with Jake's Crusher Knights here. Now, my Slaughterers have got Hell Axes, so they're strength 5. Now, obviously, he's going to do more damage to me than I am to him, but I'm steadfast and within my general's leadership bubble, so I'm not overly concerned about that. I'm thinking I can probably whittle this unit down, hold for plenty of time, and what I'm hoping is that my Scourge of Wrath will be able to take these guys out in one go and reform and come this way, is the plan. This unit here couldn't make the charge on the Mauler Chariot because the Furies had been placed incorrectly, an error on my part there, really. So they couldn't get round the Furies, so instead they've just gone sideways to charge later on if the Mauler doesn't make it or if the Mauler decides to go in this way. Cannon, I'm not overly fussed about these horsemen, so I'm allowing them to just be there, and I think trying to do some damage to either the Mauler Chariot or the Wizard is more worthwhile, to be honest with you. So that's the end of my movement 3. Okay, so this photograph is from the end of my turn 3. You can see that the chariot did manage to rescue the crushers, but not before all bar the champion could be killed. So this unit's decimated, but I suppose that's a good trade-off in the long run. The Scourge of Wrath took the Dragon Centaurs down to one model with 2 wounds left. Now I was in two minds about this really. I thought, well, do I go and chase that one and finish it off, or do I turn and come to protect this unit? And then I thought, well, when a unit gets to at or below 25% of its wounds, then its leadership is halved. So this guy is currently leadership 4, and he'll stay leadership 4 for the purposes of rallying. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take a chance. I'm going to let him keep on running. I'm going to hope that Jake doesn't rally on a 4, and I'm going to turn my Scourge of Wrath around to come and finish these guys off on the side, because the Slaughterers, as you can see here, they've taken a bit of a beating. They'll hold for a couple more turns. They've done some damage, but it's a grind that goes against me in the long run until the Scourge manages to come in. I don't want to send this Crusher in because I don't want Jake to get the full points for this unit. So, and I see the Chariot being busy with the Sorcerer over here. So I'm going to have to let this guy go and hope that it all kind of works out for me, really. So yeah, that's kind of what happened there. That's the end of my turn 3. Okay, so this is the photograph from the end of Jake's turn 4. I think we might have missed the movement turn 4 photograph, so apologies for that, boys and girls, but there you go. So the Centaur did actually flee off the board, so that was a gamble that paid off. Jake charged the Mauler into the Furies here, and when they break, he'll be able to overrun and hit the flank here. But as you can see, the Furies, just again by ridiculous dice rolls from Jake and from my ward saves, didn't actually die. I think they passed a leadership test on a 5 using the General's leadership, so that was pretty cool. The Horseman here charged into the flank of my Chariot here. It lost combat by, I think, 2. And took, I think, another wound for the number rolled on the leadership test. So it's still in the battle, but it's down to 1 wound. So not looking so great here. I think I've made an error in judgment over here. And this battle in the middle, the grind continues. You can see a few more have been shaved off now. And I've only done 1 wound back. Fortunately, we did hold, which means that everybody's favourite toy can come in to the rescue, and we'll see what these guys do, because they haven't actually been up to much yet. They charged and failed and charged and failed, so let's see what they get up to. Okay, so on to my movement turn 4 then. Charged the Scourge of Wrath into the side of the Knights here. Then I charged the Chariot into the Sorcerer here. Now, at the start of the phase, obviously the Chariot could see the Wizard, but the Scourge of Wrath was in the way. So when I declared my charges, I declared the charge with the Scourge of Wrath first, then the Chariot moved the Scourge of Wrath, which cleared the path for the Chariot. I believe that's legal. It always was legal. If you think I'm wrong, please tell me, but I think I'm right with that. Other than that, the Crushers did manage to get into combat with the Chariot here, with the Mauler Chariot. Only 1 could make it into combat. Fortunately, that one is my champion, because the Furies are still in the way over here. What else happened? I've moved this scoring unit over here into Jake's deployment zone, and that's it. That's the end of my movement turn 4. Okay, so end of my turn 4 here then. The Chariot managed to beat the General by, I think, 1 or 2, and the General actually failed his leadership test, and he fled off the board, but the Chariot pursued... He fled, the Chariot pursued, caught him, and then the Chariot went off the board. That's what happened. The Scourge of Wrath ripped through the Maulers, which was predictable. I positioned him wrong, though. what I should have done was I positioned him so that he was mainly touching the back Crusher Knight, and his corner was on the front one. Now, when the back one died, what that did was it changed the way that he would pursue, so that he'd be going on a diagonal rather than going straight, which meant that the Scourge, when he pursued, actually went into the path of the Slaughterers rather than overrunning into the Mauler Chariot, which was a bit annoying. So that was a bit careless from me, really. But anyway, the Scourge of Wrath won that combat there, so what's he on now? 3 for 3, I think, something like that. They did manage to do a wound to him, so he's got 2 left. But that doesn't decimate him. If Jake gets 1 more wound, then he'd be decimated. So yeah, I'm feeling for Jake a little bit, for once. Combat over here. Nobody did anything to anyone. So I managed to... Oh, actually, no, I say that. No, I won. I think I won this combat. So I managed to reform here, but 1 guy still left. Didn't do any wounds to me this turn. So yeah, that's where we are with that. That's the end of my turn 4. Okay, so Jake's movement turn 4 here then. I think I'm going to put... Sorry, Jake's movement turn 5. I think I'm going to put the movement and the turn together because there's very little going on here. The Marauders just backed off a little bit, really, because, well, just to put distance between them and anything that might want to hurt them, really, I suppose. So, and that was it. That was Jake's movement turn 5. Okay, looks like I'm not going to be putting them in the same frame because my computer has other ideas and doesn't want to play nicely. So, end of Jake's turn 5 here then. The cannon and the horseman drew in combat, but the 1 remaining horseman is a musician, so I lost by 0 and popped. So that was a sad way for my cannon to end. In the middle here, I think we had a... Let me have a look here. Ah, yes. The combat here was actually a draw. So that's the end of Jake's turn 5. Okay, so my movement turn 5 here then. Not a lot happening really. Scourge of Wrath has gone into the side of the Mauler Chariot to bring that to a swift end. And the cannon's come back on and has wheeled for a cheeky shot at that 1 remaining horseman in the movement phase. And that's it. We're playing to a tournament timetable here, so we're being strict on our 3.5 hours, and we were on about 3 hours 15 at this point. So we agreed we weren't going to have a turn 6. So that's the end of my movement turn 5. Let's just see what happened at the end of my turn 5. So this is the end of my turn 5 then. The Scourge of Wrath finished off the Mauler Chariot, so he's 4 for 4. But the cannon didn't manage to take out the 1 remaining horseman with his pop shot, so that's that. I scored 3,962 points. Jake scored 1,100. The secondary objectives are shared. I've got a scoring unit in Jake's deployment area here. He's got one here in mine. So this game ended 16-4. I felt that Jake was unlucky in this game. He needed his magic to come off, and it just didn't work for him at exactly the wrong times. So I feel he was quite unfortunate with that. I wonder, we talked after the game about whether Jake might want to spend those points somewhere else. He could significantly reduce his wizard character by about 300 points, just make him an apprentice with maybe 2 spells, stick him on a horse and give him a 1+ armor save, and Jake saves about 300 points, which could go towards a Crusher Knights unit, for example. Wouldn't be enough by itself, but could go towards it. So that's going to be something for Jake to kind of mull over. I think the only thing was, in this game, I managed to get all of the charges that I wanted when I wanted them. And I think that was because my chaff was in the middle of the board blocking Jake's way, whereas Jake put his chaff on the flanks, which meant that his chaff couldn't get in the way of my big hitters because they were all in the middle of the board. So I think there's probably something to learn in that, really. But anyway, that was it. That was the end of turn 5. Thanks for watching, guys. I've actually got a Battle 19, which I'll probably do tomorrow, actually. Because I'm off to watch Star Trek now, actually. So there you go. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.